Hey guys, danticstreams back with another Veilguard video. Do you want to fill the screen with a universe-ending chilling control and damage, weakening all your enemies to helpless levels, then detonating them consistently while remaining healthy behind enemy lines? Do you want to breeze through nightmare difficulty once online with the only build that can focus on staff, light and heavy attacks by giving them extra projectiles and powerful effects? Do you want to both suck and blow in a good way? Well, the galaxy-ending Evoker build might be for you. So in this video, I'll go through everything you need to know to get this build up and running from the beginning all the way until end game. I'll go through your character and your companions, skills, abilities, gear and enchantments, as well as explain how it all works in practice. So buckle up.
I'm Commander Shepard, and Dantix is my favorite channel on the Citadel.
You're not getting the discount.
What?
This is our skill tree. We want to start in the middle and make our way up until we get Frost Nova. We'll be using this temporarily until we replace it later. We then want to make our way upwards until we get to Ice Blast. Now this is a control blast ability that does cold damage and costs 2 mana pips, therefore 100 mana, and it applies the weakened effect and the chilled effect. Now this is not going to stay a mana cost for long because we will eventually make our way up until we get to Greater Authority. Control ability cooldown is 20 seconds faster, but Ice Blast now has a cooldown of 40 seconds instead of costing mana. That makes this quite good because we're going to be using our mana primarily to cast Entropic Sphere. So we're not quite there yet, so we make our way down to the specialization Evoker, but we'll be around level 10, level 15 when we do get here. So we want to pick up other abilities. The first one being Dark Squall. This is the second ability we'll be using. It detonates Sundered. It's a projectile control ability that applies Chilled. Now keep in mind that it has a cooldown just like our Ice Blast does. Therefore, we'll have our mana primarily stored just to cast one ability, which is great. It means we don't have to share and we can use all 3 of those abilities as much as we want. It also means we might have a oh shit button available to us at all times because, as you might know, casting an ability provides you with some temporary invulnerability. So we have a way to detonate Sundered and we have a way to apply Weaken. So you want to pick up these greater nodes, mostly focusing on projectile abilities, and we also, since we have the area tag as well, want to pick up area tags. Now this one here, Breathing Room, and this one down here, Breathing Room number 2, makes our Entropic Sphere absolutely enormous. It fills the entire screen. So get abilities until you are level 20 and then pick up the specialization, and you want to get everything within the specialization area as it unlocks. Some abilities will unlock at level 30, some at level 40, but you will get the ultimate here, Vortex of Shadow. It just does a lot of cold damage and pulls enemies into the center, so you have a lot of AoE abilities. It's really good. It combos well with Entropic Sphere, which is an area projectile ability. It does cold damage and costs 100 mana or 2 mana pips, and applies Weaken to everyone hit, which is going to be everyone on the screen because this thing is enormous. So of course you want ways to detonate Weakened, and we do that with Davrin, which I'll go through soon. If you see anything with the area projectile tag in the greater nodes, you want to pick those up when you can. Then we have other abilities here that all improve our staff in some ways. You see we have more staff energy, therefore can do heavy attacks more often. Our charge attacks are critical against frozen enemies. Final staff attacks reduce the cooldown of our abilities, and as you know, Dark Squall and our Ice Blast is a cooldown now. And light staff attacks reduce an enemy's resistance to your staff's damage type by 5% for 10 seconds. Now this is really good with Nev if you want to use her. We are not going to use her for this build simply because she doesn't provide a way to detonate, but you'll notice that she can also make targets vulnerable to cold, and also with her Hero of the Veilguard robes here, detonations apply frozen if the target's cold resistance drops below 0%. So that's something you could do, but she doesn't combo with you at all, so that's the reason I'm not using her. Now back to our skills. Also, after using a projectile ability, our Entropic Sphere is projectile and so is Dark Squall. We will fire additional bolts from our staff for the next 6 seconds. And if you upgrade your staff with a nice enchantment, you can do light staff projectile counts increased as well. So you'll get a lot of extra projectiles with those two things together. And that is basically everything you want to shoot for your ability upgrades that upgrade projectile abilities, so they upgrade area abilities as well. And you want to focus on cold damage. Now, moving on to our character, you want to have things in your melee slot that benefit you even when they're not equipped. Here we have charge attack damage, we have damage versus chilled enemies. All enemies will be chilled. Charge attacks also apply chilled, and chill stacks also reduce cold resistance. Therefore, if you really want that Nev thing to work out, you can put her in and this will combo with her. Then we have Glacial Rod. Heavy attack damage plus 20%. Heavy attacks with this weapon apply additional chilled stacks on full staff energy. And we have extra staff energy charge rate and maximum chilled stack. So all of that works really well with you, because with this build you'll get a lot of staff energy and therefore will be able to use heavy attacks quite quickly and therefore apply additional chilled stacks. And we will be, with our companions, adding extra chilled stacks as well. Then we have 2 light pieces of armor, and the reason for that is we have picked up this here, Light Armor Mastery. It increases our staff energy recharge rate by 20%, and we get extra attack range. So we have extra mana regeneration. The stagger doesn't matter, but the 30% ability damage, if all share the same ability type, doesn't apply to us. But we do get the 25% ability cost refunded on impact, which is very nice. Then we have the Jumper's Daft Leathers. We get maximum mana increased, we get extra mana regeneration, and then we gain maximum mana value as defense. So just overall a good set of leathers. Our Shadow Grasp Legendary Belt adds cold damage, which is exactly what we need. And also, if we do decide we need to heal ourselves, we chill everyone in the radius. And it also applies an additional chill stack because it's legendary. Then we have Token of True Flight. It improves projectile ability damage, and as we can see, Entropic Sphere and Dark Squall are projectile abilities. Then we gain 25 mana with projectile abilities that hit enemies over 15 meters away. We want to stay away from enemies. Also, because of the sheer size of Entropic Sphere, we'll be always proccing this. So we'll be getting our mana back quite efficiently. Then we have Band of Smoke. It simply increases our cold damage and also makes it so if we have any other ability types with buffing, we'll get a bonus to cold damage as well. And then we have More of the Black City. Your ability damage is always a critical hit, and using an ability consumes 20% of your maximum health as physical damage, so you will start to lose a bit of health, which is why you want Harding there to heal you back up. But making your abilities always critically hit is insane on this build, because Entropic Sphere is going to be hitting absolutely everything, and that means everything is being critically hit. You get the More of the Black City in the Crossroads by killing 50 Darkspawn and then trying to enter the giant corrupted tree. In terms of runes, we want ability damage, we want frozen duration, and we want cold damage. Very simple. It means with the active of Crystallines, we'll be able to freeze enemies within 10 meters of ourselves, giving us bonus damage because of the skills we've picked up. And if we decide to, we can also escalate, which will therefore make a Entropic Sphere quite damaging. Now, in terms of enchantments, it's very straightforward. Cold damage, weapon damage. We got the extra projectile count for the staff, which I mentioned before. We have the affliction duration, which is the chilled stacks. We have ultimate generation. We have the area ability damage for the Entropic Sphere, and we have the projectile ability damage for both, and we have the chilled damage. With Ice Blast, I've reduced the cooldown because I want to use this as often as possible. Then we have Dark Squalls, radius increases by 2 meters, and to make this even more insane, we increase the radius by 100% with this enchantment. So Entropic Sphere, as you're going to see coming up in the how to play, it is beyond ridiculously big. Now, in terms of what background you should go, I've gone the Shadow Dragons, but like I've mentioned in all my videos, your background stat increases aren't very high. They're quite minimal, so pick the one you like the flavor of the most. Moving on to companions, like I mentioned, you can have Nev if you really want, but I've chosen to go with Harding and Davram because they combo well because they combo well with your build, being the weakened and sundered effects. Let's start with Harding. The main skill you want to pick up is Shred, because with Shred we apply Sundered. Not only do we apply Sundered with Harding, she has the ability upgrade Spontaneous Shred, which makes it so it triggers automatically and doesn't set the original on cooldown. So this is just a passive effect that means that there will be randomly at times enemies that have the Sundered effect applied to them, meaning you can Dark Squall them and detonate more often. We also pick up a heal with her because you always need at least one heal on your squad, someone that can regenerate you, and especially because we'll be sacrificing our health to crit, this is very useful. Then we have Adrenaline Rush, just to give us the enhanced damage effect. As you can see, it increases base damage by a percentage. Also with Impetus, we reduce our cooldowns by 20 seconds, and we have 2 abilities that are cooldowns, so this is quite useful. Then in terms of the hero of the Veilguard choice, you absolutely want to make the one that gives you Heart of Titan. It reduces the Soothing Potions cooldown by 15 seconds, but that's not why you want it. You want it because Harding's detonation damage is increased by 25%, and you and your other companion gain bonus 20% damage and 15% cooldown reduction, which is absolutely insane. Her just being on your squad will make you do so much more damage. This choice will also give you the armor piece, Inquisition Spotter. All detonations are more likely to disrupt enemies, and this chance applies to all enemies near a detonation. So it just means you'll be disrupting more, they'll be more caught up by your control abilities. The rest of her gear doesn't really matter, however, I've given her the Attack My Target applies Chilled, and the maximum stacks of Chilled that applies to all enemies, obviously, not just the ones that Harding is attacking. Then we have Davron, and the main reason for Davron is his ability to detonate Weakened, and every single enemy on the map is going to be weakened because of your Entropic Sphere. So we'll make our way down, and we'll pick up Positive Reinforcement, which will mean on detonation you get Rally Party. That means all your companions are going to be doing more damage when you detonate, and since we're using this ability to detonate, we'll pretty much always have Rally Party active. We also have Barrage. On detonation, this ability's cooldown is reduced by 50%, which is very good because everyone will be weakened and we'll have lots of targets to use this ability with. Since this will be the primary ability he'll be using, we don't need to pick up the other 2 here. Instead, we get Battle Cry and upgrade it with Overprotective. That means that Davron will taunt enemies automatically, and this will occur once every 60 seconds and will not trigger the cooldown of Battle Cry and the cooldown of Death from Above as they're linked, meaning you'll stay more protected with Davron around. Then we have Just In Case in War Victory. It makes you invulnerable for a short period of time. And also with the passive Further Capitalize, we get 20% of our ultimate when we use this. So it's a nice thing to do when you're out in the world. Just cast it. It's a 28-second cooldown. You get a charge of ultimate. Cast it again when it's off cooldown. You'll have a fully charged ultimate before a fight. Very simple. Now his Hero of the Veilguard skill, I've gone with Defender because assigned abilities have a shorter cooldown. The other one gives it more damage, but we want a shorter cooldown because we want to be using this to detonate as often as possible. It also gives him the armor over here, Grey Benefactor, but we won't be using that. Instead, we'll be using this, Crafter's Trappings. Enemies remain weakened when detonated, but cannot be detonated again, and it's a 20% increase to weakened effectiveness, so everything's going to be doing extremely low damage, and on Nightmare difficulty, this is incredibly invaluable because Entropic Sphere is hitting everything and weakening everything, and they're doing even less damage to you with this, so you definitely don't need his legendary piece. Then with Reforged Bulwark, Attack My Target applies Taunt, so you have another way of getting enemies off you. And then he has extra damage against taunted enemies, and that applies to you as well. So you're just going to be doing 25% more damage to everything he taunts, and he's going to be passively taunting everything with Battlecry. Now in terms of enchantments, you can put anything on really. I would go for something like Apply Shield on Barrier Break or Detonation Damage. So how does this build work? It's not as simple as firing your skills off on rotation. You want to assess the situation first and decide how to approach it. If you're able to keep range, assault enemies with your staff's ranged attack combinations, then set up a combo with Harding and your Dark Squall. You can also close the distance and group enemies up with your massive Entropic Sphere radius, then get off an Ice Blast once they're grouped up. You want to be using Entropic Sphere as often as possible, as you'll be getting mana back quickly, and it's the only thing you'll be spending it on, because unlike the Deathcaller build I recently posted, you won't be using your mana consuming ranged attack mode. You'll be losing health from casting abilities, so don't forget to use Rejuvenate with Parting and use your potions. This is not a defensive build, so avoid taking hits at all cost. Stand next to your sphere to ensure safety from melee enemies. And that's everything. What do you think? Is this the build for you? Let me know below. For everything RPG and Dragon Age, you're in the right place. Ciao friends. Ciao friends.